Can you tell me your name and who you represent?
Sure. My name is Dr. Terrence Karran. I'm from the Centre for Educational Research and Development at the University of Lincoln.
Oh, very good. And what kind of projects are you working on that are relevant to this conference? Is there anything that you've brought to the conference?
With respect to bringing to the conference, we were looking at the costs and benefits of e-learning and benchmarking as to how useful that could be across the entire sector, and trying to develop more robust benchmarks so that other people can use them, and that's really what our workshop was about.
Okay, brilliant. And like for people who didn't understand like benchmarking in general, how do you explain that I mean, how within reference to sort of e-learning, is it qualitative or like costs?
Well, it includes costs, but it's a variety of measures to try and ascertain as to how good e-learning is relative to face-to-face in order to justify e-learning. There are various justifications that can be made for it. One is cost, another is availability and access, another is quality. So we're looking to see how we can actually measure these things in a coherent way, which will enable us to assess whether people are actually making these benefits, which would then be of greater benefit across the entire sector, not only in the UK perhaps, but also internationally as well, because I'm also part of a European project which is looking at virtual campuses in the same kind of way. So what we're doing here will be relevant to UK HE, but clearly will have further ramifications and further use more broadly across the HE sector in Europe and internationally as well. Okay,
brilliant. So with that in mind, is this a conference of unique value for
Well, it is unique value in that it's very unusual to get such a disparate audience together like this. So, for example, if you look at the list of people attending, it is a global conference. You can see that there's people from Egypt, from everywhere across the globe. And in that sense, it's very useful because you meet up with other people that you wouldn't meet, even if you engage in virtual environments. Actually meeting someone face to face gives you something that doesn't exist in a virtual context. So although we might email someone, actually meeting them face to face, handshaking them and talking to them is very, very valuable. And that is obviously going to be a major value added of this project, of this conference after the conference is over. I mean, we've taken down all the emails of the people that were in our sector to get in contact with them afterwards.
Very good. And the last area, it's very relevant, but it's slightly broader with someone such as yourself that's involved in this kind of research. It's really what are the objectives of I'm going to widen this a bit to what e-learning should, well, let's see, what are the objectives? I'm going to have to totally rephrase the question because
the
original question.
No, it's quite all right. Carry on.
For a project, it's like are your objectives like technology driven? Or is it how basically asking people if they've made the decision based on the technology or their objectives that they meet? So just to ask that in a more general way, how relevant what's the degree of relevance currently, do you think, for e-learning in the way that it's being applied? Do you think it's always being applied in the most relevant way, or?
Well, clearly e-learning is a portmanteau term that covers a variety of very good practices and also very poor practices, and that is one of its problems. But if you were to ask me which is more important, the e or the learning, I'd have to say the learning. And what we would wish to do is try to encourage the use of new technologies in order to improve quality and improve access, to try and maximise the possibility of educational opportunities for everyone in schools, universities, elsewhere. And that's really what it's about. Providing very high quality education to a very broad spectrum of people to enable them to maximise their educational potential.
Okay, and do you think, how much has this terrain changed over the last 5 years?
Well, clearly it's changed very, very quickly because the technology itself changes and we're forever trying to leap to catch up. So, for example, we didn't have things like Facebook, YouTube 5 years ago, and they're clearly now very important with respect to informal learning. But by the same token, e-learning has now to some extent come of age. There was a kind of an e-learning boom in the same way there was a dot-com boom, and people are now looking to use e-learning, I think, in a more integrated fashion than they did before. And it's now become virtually mainstream, I would say.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.